Hello everyone, it's CreativeNameToStandOut again with another battle report, and this time I have the Game 2 of that GW tournament in Bowie, Maryland. In this scenario, I called it Medal in the Middle because there's only one objective and it's in the middle, so if you capture it, you're on your way to winning the game. Now you can get Thunder tokens for killing the general. You can also get a Thunder token each end of turn, as in both people have gone turn, I guess round. If you have more models within 3 inches of the objective than your opponent, that counts as controlling it, and that gets you 1. And then you get a bonus 1 if your general is also in that range. Now, my opponent has less wounds than I do by a large enough amount that he gets some bonus objectives. If he kills my Deathbringer, he'll get another Thunder token, who's also my general, so that's a double up there. And he'll also get a Thunder token for killing my Tzeentch warriors. These were in my hands. I could have picked any on the board. I just decided at random to pick these two. Maybe that was not too smart, but who cares? So let's go into deployment. I forgot to take pictures of the order deployment, so just bear with me. Here in this picture, you can see he has 5 Blood Warriors, he has 20 Blood Reavers, the Blood Secretor, and then the Chaos Khorne Lord. Moving on to the next picture, you can see, and the Exalted Deathbringer, who you can also see in this picture. He also has his Blood Stoker and the Korgorath, if I remember it right. Moving on to my deployment, you can see that I have a Blood Stoker, then my Blood Warriors, my Slaughter Priests, the Skull Reapers, then my Blood Secretor, and a unit of Tzeentch Warriors, and Kekus up on top. I was able to finish deploying first, so I got the first turn, and the first thing I did was summon some of those Flamers of Tzeentch because my opponent doesn't have any shooting, and that is one advantage that I can get over on him. So I summon up those demons, and we go in the shooting phase after I kind of move up a little bit cautiously with my center units, and I was running on the side with my Blood Warriors. But I do go in the shooting phase. The Flamers rolled to hit and wound. Didn't do too hot, but when it came to producing the damage, I actually ended up killing 6. So that was pretty good. And then he proceeded to roll a 6, I believe, and he lost 5 more who went running for their lives. So now we go into the Bloodbound's first turn, and my opponent is going to be very aggressive. He's going to first use his Bloodstoker to whip the Korgorath into a frenzy, effectively giving him 3 inches to his charge phase, to whatever he rolls. He then activates his Khorne Lord, and he gives out that command ability that gives 3 units or D3 units, I forget which. But he does have 3 units that get this benefit. They're able to roll 3 dice and then pick the 2 highest. So he gives that to the Korgorath, the Exalted Deathbringer, and his Blood Reavers. And then he just pushes forward and he starts declaring charges. And the first thing he does is charge the Korgorath. And with having 3 dice, picking the 2 highest and an extra 3 inches, he easily gets in the Blood Warriors. And this pays off dividends because now, since he's running the Goreblade Warband, all his units get to reroll charges. So when the Blood Reavers roll up, they have 3 dice, picking the 2 highest, and being able to reroll it. So I don't think he needed to reroll it, but it was sure great for him to have that backup insurance in case he rolled poorly. So they get in there, and that also means that the Exalted Deathbringer with the same rules gets to get into there too. So my Screamers are probably going to die. And I don't know how good or bad the Korgorath is, but we're about to find out against these Blood Warriors. He decides to strike first with his Blood Reavers, and these guys, so they're in range of both his Blood Secretor and my Blood Secretor, and the rules with them don't say friendly units. It just says Khorne units, so they're going to be feeding off of both of our stuff right here. So they easily take care of the demons, and I move on to my Blood Warriors, who do a couple wounds to the Korgorath, before he strikes back with his Korgorath. I then move on to my Tzeentch Warriors just to kind of get them in there and try to kill off a couple more Blood Reavers. I don't need them being that synergetic. So I go in and I think I kill a couple. I only was able to get 2 into combat actually. That unfortunately, not thinking about this, brings... actually, it doesn't really matter. He gets to move up 3 inches, doesn't he? But anyways, his Exalted Deathbringer moves up, and he attacks my aspiring Deathbringer, which I thought was a pretty cool kind of image going ahead. This Deathbringer's like just charging in there with that spear, and he's just ignoring all the enemy troops, and kind of like lifts the spear above his head, as you can see there, and tries to go over the shoulders of the enemy and stab it into my general, and it actually hurts me a lot. He does 3 wounds. That's not too good. I then move up with my units, and I kill a couple more Blood Reavers, and I think I put a wound or 2 on his Deathbringer. My forces get to start off the second turn, and my hero phase has a lot of things to do. My Bloodstoker whips the Blood Warriors into a frenzy. My Slaughter Priest prays the god Khorne and actually does a couple wounds to the Korgorath. I plant the totem in the ground with the Blood Secator. Of course, before I do that, I actually summon 10 horrors, so I don't have to reroll my successful castings. And pretty much we get into combat because I don't have much to move. I think I move my heroes that can move around to a better position, but otherwise we just go straight into combat. And I try to kill off that Deathbringer before he strikes, and I'm able to put him down to 1 wound, but I'm not able to kill him. And as you can see, he then strikes with the Deathbringer and manages to kill my general. So that was bad stuff for me. But on the bright side, this lets me demonstrate when you should retreat, because there was no reason for me to keep him there. I wasn't going to strike with him first. I wasn't even going to be in range to strike with him. And now my opponent has gotten 2 easy points. I next choose my Blood Warriors to attack, and I easily kill the Korgorath. I knew I would because he had so many wounds on him from the previous turn, and the fact that I inflicted some mortal wounds with the Slaughter Priest. And I was happy to take out the Korgorath, but it was kind of a mistake because I knew he was going to die. Maybe I should have chose somewhere else. By killing him, and since he was part of the Gore Blade Warband formation, it gave his Blood Reavers an extra attack. And I think out of his Blood Reavers, he only had 6 left, but with my banner, his banner, the fact that my banner was in the ground, and now that I've killed the Korgorath, I think those 6 guys generated 42 plus attacks. So there was a ton of dice being rolled. Lucky for me, he rolled kind of poorly. It could have gone much better for him, and at the end of the day, I took minor casualties. I may have lost a guy from each unit, but it should have been much worse. In the Bloodbound second turn, I've pretty much blunted his first wave, so it's now about time for him to send in a second wave, which is a little bit more hard hitting because it's his characters and those Blood Warriors. And so he's going to advance everybody up pretty aggressively. He's going to give those command abilities. I'll give him 3 dice, picking the 2 highest. Even his Bloodstoker is going to charge my Blood Warriors. It's a really bad matchup for him, but why not? He's Khorne. And so he makes all his charges, and at the end of all these combats, I end up killing off the rest of his Blood Reavers. His Deathbringer died in the turn before. I put a couple wounds here and there on the Blood Warriors and the Lord of Khorne. They do their own damage back to me also, so we're really wearing each other out. And on the other side, he doesn't really do much with his Bloodstoker, and I murder the guy. So here we go into my next turn, and as you can see here, if you're keeping track of the score, I've let things get away from me. My opponent has built a sizable lead here, so he is sacrificing units all over the place, but he has successfully kept the mission in mind, so he's doing a really good job. So looking across the board, I see I have a chance to actually table my opponent. We're in turn 3. If I can get my Blood Warriors over there real quick, it would be a big help. And I do have the tool to do so. I have the Bloodstoker. He's going to whip those warriors into shape, and they're going to rush there as fast as they can, plus 3 of their charge. It's always good. My Slaughter Priest hasn't killed the guy yet, but he prays really, really well. He's extremely devout, and he prays to Khorne. And of course, Khorne doesn't care from where the blood flows. And through his prayers, he inflicts 5 mortal wounds onto the Blood Secator. So that was a big, big help there to get rid of that guy, because he has a 3+ armor save, so he's a little bit tougher than everybody else when trying to do all these wounds. We go to the combat, and I'm able to put the Khorne Lord down to 1 wound, thanks to both the Skull Keepers, the Skull Reapers, and my Blood Warriors. And things are looking my way. We're going to go in this next turn, and hopefully I can table him. So we do go into Bloodbound turn 3, and his target really is to kill off that Tzeentch Warrior unit, because that's another bonus point he can get. So he's really directing all of his attacks there. I think his Lord of Khorne goes first, and I believe he kills off 2 of my Tzeentch Warriors. I then strike back. I need to only do 1 more wound to that Chaos Lord, and I managed to get that done. Then we go to pick some more units. I think his Blood Warriors strike next, and then I'm going to go to attack with my Blood Warriors, and then the game's called. We ran out of time. We were having a lot of fun in this game, so we were having like a lot of conversation. We were talking about other ways we were thinking about playing the game. Just a really good player, really great guy. I remember that. So hopefully he'll be somebody I play more often. I know that him and me are both moving closer to this area, so that'll be pretty fun to look forward to. But yeah, the game ends there, and here's the final score. So my opponent pulls it out 5-2. And now that I'm reviewing this whole battle report, I'm not entirely sure we got a point for killing the general. I think just my opponent got a point for killing my Deathbringer. But whatnot, we both got the points in this battle report, so it doesn't really make that big of a difference. We either both got 0 for that, or we both got 1 for it. So, but yeah, my opponent also gave me the last point for the turn 3 controlling the objective, so that was pretty good too, even though we didn't technically finish the turn. So yeah, I lost there. My opponent really kept his eye on the prize, and I was not paying attention at all. I was more focused on getting rid of threats than actually the mission, and that's good because he was rated as the underdog in this game, and since he played towards the mission, he just fully deserves the win. So my overview of the mission, I would really encourage people to play this mission. This is a good one. It's simple and direct, and it's really important that since it's a 4x4 board, that you scored at the end of each round rather than just seeing who controlled this objective at the end of the game. Because if you played it at the end of the game, then it would probably just boil down to being a mash in the middle, even though this was kind of a mash in the middle, but more so, and people could easily just forget about the mission and just try to annihilate their opponent. Whereas, as you've seen in this one, that was really what I got lost in. I was trying to just kill my opponent, and since he's scoring every round, it allowed him to gain a lead on me, and despite the fact that he was losing the battle, he won the war. So I think that's really important, that if you're playing this, that you're scoring every round. Now, having said that, if you're playing on a 6x4, you could easily expand this into just having more objectives on the board, that you would still, I think it's still a good mechanism to have you score every round. So yeah, I just really like this one. I had a lot of fun as far as learning. Oh, one thing that I did learn here, and maybe you caught this as I was telling the game, but actually turn order is really important in this game, and I had the opportunity every round to really affect that, and I just failed to do that. I think it's much more impactful for you to have the second turn in this type of game, so that you have a lot of control over who's going to have more units in the area of control. So by giving my opponent the second turn, he was able to respond to me winning those kind of combats by having more people pile in and just stealing those round points. So if I could redo the whole game, I would have definitely chosen to go second anytime I could. But I definitely didn't, and my opponent really capitalized on that. So again, great game. I had a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, please comment below, and I'll see you guys next time with Game 3.